It's October! The time for witches and pumpkins, for ghosts and ghouls, for Satan! And my favorite tradition is watching horror movies, like the classic film Raising Ghosts to Eat People. What?! Oh, come on. It's not that bad. So yeah, Chinese has quite the strange name for Hellraiser. Other languages just seem to call it Hellraiser, like in German, French, and Polish. They all do this, except they also add a subtitle. This is a surprisingly common thing for foreign language translations of movie titles. In no particular order, we got Halloween, Night of Horrors, as well as Night of All Witches, Saw, The Enigma, Poltergeist, Vengeance of the Ghosts, Alien, The Eighth Passenger. Yeah, that one was really popular for some reason. Oh, and I also forgot Saw Survival Game, The Shining, The Light Child, Scream, Rosemary's Baby, Red Ribbon in New York, and finally It. If you see this, it's the end. That's only some of the titles that, when translated, gain a dedicated subtitle that didn't exist in the original. I'm telling you, it's insanely common. I guess it's just a way of keeping the English name without having to come up with a brand new title. Like, for example,
This is God.
Nightmare. That's it. Just Nightmare. Well, I mean, Nightmare, Murderous Dream in German, and From the Depth of the Night in Italian. Because even when you make a brand new title, you apparently still need to give it a subtitle. This is of course not to be confused with Rosemary's Nightmare, the Finnish title for Rosemary's Baby, which itself has a few different titles, like Red Ribbon in New York, as already mentioned, and The Devil's Seed? Ew! In Chinese, they call Nightmare on Elm Street Ghost Street, and in French, they call it, well, Fangs of the Night, but whatever, same difference. Sticking to slasher movies, we have Halloween, which in Swedish is called All Saints Bloody Night, which, wait, isn't that the day after Halloween? You know, Halloween, All Hallows Eve, as opposed to... In French, it's called Night of the Masks, which, you know, sometimes is a subtitle, but often it's just Night of the Masks. But you can see the idea behind both. These are both poetic ways of describing Halloween, clearly being influenced by the holiday. And so, of course, the Turkish title would be influenced by 20th century existentialist French literature. And yeah, I checked. The novel by Albert Camus, The Stranger, has the same name in Turkish. But I didn't know that the main character was Michael Myers this whole time. Maybe that's why the character was so aloof. He was a slasher villain the whole time. If only it were so easy to just convict and arrest Michael Myers in the movies. Oh wait. Shiver! Well, no burglars this time. But that's what Scream is called in Quebec. Otherwise, the title is just the same as in English, or they translate the name literally. But here's a question for you. We're on the topic of slasher movies, but is Texas Chainsaw Massacre a slasher movie? Wait, I jumped ahead in the script. Damn it! But still, Texas Chainsaw has quite a few different titles of interest, like the Danish Chainsaw Massacre. Notable because in Danish, they managed to make that whole title into one word.
Nice.
In Greek, it's the schizophrenic saw killer. I mean, is Leatherface actually schizophrenic? I don't think so. I mean, he's crazy and so is his family, but there's a difference between schizophrenic and psychopathically insane. Also, I don't quite understand the German high justice in Texas. High justice against who exactly? The victims? For what? Being morons that accept hitchhikers into their van and being mean to this guy? Not exactly a death penalty offense in my opinion, I'm just saying. In Japanese, the movie is called The Devil's Sacrifice. Again, a sacrifice to who or what? The grandpa? Did these translators even see the movie? Well, in Italian, the movie is called Don't Open That Door, which is tantamount to just calling the movie
Shut that door!
But here's a question for you. We're on the topic of slasher movies, but is Psycho a slasher movie? Yes? No? What about Psychosis? Very common translation for the title. Although Italians call it Psycho, just like the original, but they spell it differently. I also couldn't find the word in any dictionary, so I wonder why they felt the need to keep the English word but not keep the English spelling. They should have done what the Turkish did and translated the title to Sapik, which in English means, wait, pervert? I mean, they aren't wrong. I guess that's just not the part that sticks in my mind when it comes to Norman Bates. Saw has a bunch of titles. Quebec French has Decadence, Greek has
I see you.
and Romanian has Deadly Puzzle. Although I don't know if you can call these puzzles as much as tests of endurance. Though I do sometimes wonder if Jigsaw is right about his whole putting people in deadly situations to make them appreciate life idea. I mean, it worked in Jaws. Although the actual title didn't seem to work out so well. And honestly, I can't really blame the translators here. Mâchoire is a pretty freaking stupid name for a movie in French. So instead they got creative and called it Teeth of the Ocean. So did the Turkish. Although the same could not be said for Portuguese and Spanish, who called the movie Shark. Didn't even have the goddamn common courtesy to add the article. What are you, Chinese?
Sir, yes, sir!
Too bad, because them and the Germans actually added the full name, Great White Shark, just to give it a bit more panache. Do you have a problem with that?
Sir, Private Brown, sir!
That doesn't answer my question, Private Brown. Seriously, what the hell are you on? Reminds me of that time I tried looking up the Danish title for the movie. And please, someone help me with this, because I looked up the words in a Danish dictionary, and every time it gives me the same thing. Yawn of Death.
Oh, well, that was wonderful. Good time was had by all.
Okay, jeez. Well, okay, the thing is called The Horrible Thing in French. The Thing from Another World in German, which is interesting because that's the name of the original. In Japanese, it's called From a Planet Thing X. But even that's not as weird as the Chinese title, Mutated Type 3.
What?
But now, I saved the best for last, and if you're familiar with the Nerd's body of work, some of you might already have predicted what we're going to be talking about here. Let's talk about the zombie movies. So as the Nerd said in his chronologically confused video, the sequel to Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, was renamed into simply Zombie in Italy. Then a sequel to this movie was made in Italy called Zombie 2, even though it had nothing to do with Dawn of the Dead. And in America, they called this Zombie 2 Zombie, and in Britain they called it Zombie Flesh Eaters. They kept on making movies in this new Zombie franchise, and in Britain they would keep calling them Zombie Flesh Eaters, making it so that Italy was always one number ahead. Kinda like the Japanese and American names for the Dynasty Warriors games, if you're familiar with that story. Meanwhile, in America, when Zombie 3 came out, they decided to just stick to the Italian titles from here onwards, since it was only going to keep getting more confusing. without acknowledging the fact that this means that in America, there's a Zombie 3, but no Zombie 2. Have you ever heard of a film franchise with missing movies in it?
World War V.
Peter, we've been over this. There has to be a World War III and IV first.
Oh no, that's the beauty of World War V, Lois. It's so intense, it skips over the other two.
And so is the tale of the legendarily confusing series of films known collectively as Zombie. But come on, you're on my channel, so you know that I gotta dig into this situation just a bit more.
Right on! Let's do it! Rock that world! Rock that world!
So Germany also called Dawn of the Dead Zombie, and they also had the movie Zombie 2, Day of the Dead. Yeah, in Germany, the zombie title actually makes sense. And yet, from what I could find online, none of these European countries had the foresight to translate the first movie, Night of the Living Dead, as anything other than Night of the Living Dead. But wait, if Zombie 2 is Day of the Dead, then what do Germans call the Italian Zombie 2? Voodoo!
If you relax, it will enable me to do anything I please.
I mean, okay, I guess that makes sense. The island is cursed by voodoo in the movie, so then Lucio Fulci's series is called Voodoo, right? Nope! Because the next movie, Zombie 3, is just Zombie 3, even in Germany. I swear, the UK is the only country that managed to find a way to keep both zombie movie lineages intact, without having to exclude certain films, or result in all sorts of nonsense to keep the timeline straight. But hey, why stop at 3? The Italian movies ended with Lucio Fulci's second film, Zombie 3, but everyone else just figured, hey, if one Italian knockoff can be put in the same series as the Romero films, then why not others? This creates a whole general orthodoxy worldwide of making the movie After Death into Zombie 4, as well as the movie Killing Birds into Zombie 5, which is especially hilarious because Killing Birds, Zombie 5, was made before Zombie 3. This is the general structure followed by the US releases, the Thai releases, and the UK releases, which retitled them appropriately for their titling schemes. I swear, explaining all of this feels like I'm talking about Christianity to someone who hasn't heard about it for the first time.
In this lecture, we're looking at dead bodies.
Right down to the fact that there are two major schisms in the church, if you will. The first one happened in the United States itself. For some insane, bewildering reason, the VHS company TZ Video, who specialized in crappy European horror movies, decided to call Zombie 3 Zombie 2, filling in the gap left in by the original American distributors, and then started renaming completely random movies as Zombie 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You think Zombie 5 was impressive? Oh, it's older than Zombie 3 after all. Well, in the TZ franchise, Zombie 3 is older than Dawn of the Dead! By a lot! And so is Zombie 4. Zombie 6 is actually something of a sequel to the Italian film Anthropophagus, which I only mention because, of course, that film happens to go by the title Zombie 7, because of course they chose to release the sequel first and then the original after. I mean, what are you, stupid or something? Of course, this is all due to the freedom VHS companies had at the time. They could retitle movies to all sorts of random crap. Gigantus the Fire Monster, anyone? I mean, once DVDs rolled around, the US got back on track, and the Blu-ray releases still follow the zombie orthodoxy to this very day. I mean, it's not like the whole country just changed the zombie franchise because they felt like it. Oh man. So now let's go to the second schism, where the country of Australia just decided to change the zombie franchise just because they felt like it. In Australia, the holy trinity of zombies 1, 2, and 3 follow orthodoxy, but then they go off the rails, much like how their mammals did. Do you know why marsupials have pouches?
Out comes a tiny, underdeveloped little worm. To survive, it must get to a pouch higher up on its mother's belly. After about 3 minutes, it reaches the lip of the pouch and clambers down to safety inside. There, it clamps its tiny mouth on its mother's nipple.
Ew! Zombie 4 is actually Panic, also known as Bacterian.
I think I'm gonna pass out!
Zombie 5 is Vengeance of the Zombies, but then you get weird stuff like Zombie 6, Dawn of the Mummy, which is about as much of a zombie movie as a hot dog is a sandwich.
Melted cheese on top of bread. Is that a sandwich?
That is a sandwich.
So a pizza is a sandwich, Ned?
Unfortunately,
No,
yes.
no. Zombie 7 is called Night of the Seagulls, which I can only guess is the racist all-white edition of the Birds. Can birds be racist? I mean, dolphins can, so I don't even know the rules anymore. Hashtag Porpoise Lives Matter. Zombie 8 is Urban Decay, which was made in 2020. They're still making movies? Oh, and there's also a rumor online that in Pakistan, there's a Zombie 34, and it's Bulgasari, the North Korean Godzilla movie knockoff that was made when Kim Jong-il kidnapped a South Korean filmmaker that he liked. And then there's the short film called Zombie 1 made by some Dutch guy, which I don't even know where to put on this timeline, as well as the completely different short film called Variant, which is also released as Zombie 8. Then there's the 90s Extreme Pestilence, which is Zombie 7, also known as 2001 Battle Royale, because now it's the sequel to Battle Royale in 2001 A Space Odyssey at the same time, but instead it's a Zombie Odyssey. And there's Zombie 5, which is actually Revenge of the House of Usher, so it falls under the House of Usher 2, as well as being Zombie 5, which means that Edgar Allan Poe is in the zombie series. And then there's